Noksi Gwini. Mangagid gini no na poingi pata pabin ekongog ni komitea I sinentin mizo pod no gasha na artikulo man ma refer gato gi JGO committee. Today is August 10th, 2021. It is now 6 o'clock p.m. and with 4 members present, we have a quorum, and so I hereby call this public hearing to order. This public hearing from your committee, your House Committee on Judiciary and Governmental Operations to order. The agenda for today's meeting was issued on August 4th, 2021, and copies were made available online and in the House chamber for the viewing public. If you notice on the agenda, it is enumerated as items 1, 2, 3, and then 5 and 6. There is a typographical error on tonight's agenda, and the enumeration should be 1, call to order, 2, introductions, 3, public comments, 4 should read announcements, and then 5 should be adjournment. I wanted to point that out because I will now, if it's all right with the legal counsel, and consider it a technical amendment before I receive a motion to adopt this evening's agenda. Thank you. I have the thumbs up from the council. At this time, I would like to get a motion to adopt tonight's agenda from the members.
Motion to adopt the agenda. So
There is a motion to adopt today's agenda as amended. Can I get a second? There is a motion and it has been seconded. Are there any discussions on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Today's agenda as amended has been adopted. Before moving to opening statements, I want to announce some housekeeping rules and introduce our members of the committee and the staff of the Legislative Bureau who are providing essential support to this public hearing. First and foremost, we ask that you please cooperate and turn off or put your cell phones on silent mode to avoid any disruptions to the members of the public who would like to make public comments tonight. We appreciate it. Second, for everyone's safety and protection, we have provided sanitizers, a thermometer, masks. If you need any, please feel free to see the staff in the back against the wall. Also, I wanted to announce the bathrooms are located as you exit the exit door out here, walk down the corridor, and take a right on that hallway. It is on your left at the end of the building. Also, the air conditioner will be going on and off throughout the public hearing. It's normal. They told me it's on a timer and they can't control it. So at times it will be quite chilly in here and at times it will be tolerable. At this time, I want to introduce the members of the Committee on Judiciary and Governmental Operations. To my immediate left, we have Representative Edwin Probst from Precinct 1, who is also the chairman of the House Committee on Gaming. To my immediate right, I have Representative Vicente Camacho from Precinct 3, and he is also the chairman for Federal and Foreign Affairs. And to Representative Camacho's right is Representative Richard Lazama from Precinct 5. He is also the chairman for the Public Utilities, Telecommunications, and Public Utilities, Transportation, and Communications House Committee. And to the far right, we have Representative Roy Ada. He's not a member of this committee, but he is a member of the 22nd House of Representatives. I've asked him to be here today because he has introduced 2 of his bills will be up for public comments tonight. To the right, we have our legal counsel, Mr. Joe Bermudez, and the legislative assistant assigned to the Judiciary and Governmental Operations Committee is Mr. Cameron Sirs Nicholas. And then we have our House Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Pete Tawai. And he's here to keep everyone in order. We will now move into opening statements. And I would like to ask the members if they're going to give opening statements that they keep it to 5 minutes. And if there are no objections, I will begin. I want to thank everyone here this evening for making the time to have a dialogue with your JGO committee. It is an important civic duty for our constituents to be involved in their government and to be heard. Your government exists solely because of your participation, and I don't take that for granted. The JGO committee has a legislative duty to consider and report on all bills, resolutions, and other matters referred to it by the House of Representatives. And the JGO committee has a broad range of subjects that it has jurisdiction over. It has oversight jurisdiction to include the management of government operations and activities, government reorganization, intergovernmental affairs, including with the central and its municipalities. I would now like to open the floor to the other members if they would like to make any opening statements. I recognize Representative Richard Lazama.
Jesus Masi, Chairwoman, Malagata Pinachamuru. Jesus Masi Pinatin Mizuna Point, Paguli Pegina Cantiran Tauta, Putantis in a point na hearing. It's a public hearing. We want to hear from you. Okay? In regards to proposed or House bill that has been proposed. And this is something that everyone should be involved. Everyone should have a say-so to designate a facility, a building, a park, to who is supposed to be named for that particular building, facility, or park. So your presence tonight, is welcome. And thank you for your presence. I yield back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Lazama. Is there any other member who would like to make opening statements? I recognize Representative Vicente Camacho.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. I do have an opening statement I would like to read out here. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's public hearing. This evening, I would like to speak of House Bill 22-65 to rename the Commonwealth Health Center to Dr. Governor Carlos S. Camacho Commonwealth Health Center, to honor and recognize our first governor for his public services and contributions to the government of the Northern Mariana Islands, to honor Governor Carlos Sablan Camacho for his involvement and contributions in establishing and forming what is now the government of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, to honor and recognize him for the services and contributions for this democratic government that we are now protecting and finding ways to contribute for the betterment of this government for the people, to recognize and honor him by continuing to ensure that this government functions in a democratic rule for all to enjoy, knowing that its people are protected and are cared for. Just some of his profiles. Carlos Sablan Camacho received his Bachelor's of Medicine degree from Fiji School of Medicine. He practiced medicine until he was elected to the Congress of Micronesia in 1967. He has a master's degree in public health from the University of Hawaii. He served as Pacific Island Chief Medical Officer of Public Health from 1969 to 1977. He was president of the Saipan Democratic Party from 1975 to 1977. the Camacho Ada administration that helped create the tourism industry. The Japanese wanted to repatriate the remains of their war dead on Tinian and Saipan, but Governor Camacho told Japan that he would provide land for the creation of memorials in the Sinamay so that the Japanese could commemorate their war dead there. Japanese tourists would regularly visit the islands. He signed the Executive Order Number 25 that established the college in 1981. He contributed in the design of the Commonwealth Health Corporation. He negotiated that at least 25% of the food stamps provided to us by the federal government should be spent on local produce and for fishing. Recognizing former Governor Carlos Sablan Camacho for his services and contributions is a correct and honorable return by the public, the government, by the people that he had served, whom we are serving to show our gratitude. Former Governor Carlos Sablan Camacho is 84 years old now and is still living amongst us today. Let us show our gratitude by supporting this bill, just as we are supporting each other to ensure that the Sinamay government and its people are protected. We are also working on concurrently to honor all of the pioneers of the health and medicine in the Sinamay. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Representative Camacho. I will now recognize Representative Ed Probst.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, colleagues. And most especially, thank you, good evening to our dear constituents. We truly appreciate you making the time tonight to join us and to be here. And as our chair and my good colleagues are here, we're here to listen intently and to take notes and to really hear what you have to say on the bills and a legislative initiative that is before you. We look forward to your comments, engaging in some good discussion, and we're here for you as always. So thank you again, Madam Chair and colleagues, and good evening.
Thank you, Representative Probst. At this time, we will move on to public comments. But before we receive your public comments, I'd like to recognize Representative Roy Ada to speak about his two bills today that are the subject of this public hearing. Representative Ada. Namely, House Bill 22-59 and 22-60, and I will leave it up to him to speak about it.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and the members of the JGO for hosting this public hearing today. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight and participating in this public hearing to share our thoughts and opinions about what is the agenda today. I am here by the invitation of the JGO chairwoman to speak a little bit about as to why I introduced legislation in regards to the renaming of San Vicente Elementary School to Moses T. Ferran, Tidingo Ferran, and to name the newly constructed San Vicente Youth Center after the Honorable late Village Commissioner Prudencio Cabrera. Okay, so, Madam Chair, if I may. Okay, first, a little bit about House Bill 22-59, the renaming of San Vicente Elementary School to Moses Tidingo Ferran. As for my reason for introducing this bill, I would like to read the content of the bill that was introduced by former Representative Antonio Agutu, who introduced legislation to rename San Vicente Elementary School in the 18th legislature and then followed up in the 19th legislature. I also like to mention that former Rep wasn't the first individual to introduce legislation to rename San Vicente Elementary School to Moses Ferran. It was introduced back in the 6th legislature, 1988, by Representative Mariano Bermudez, Representative William Adet, Rep. Gregorio Sablon, and Rep. Juan S. Torres. Okay, and bear in mind that the context that I'm going to be saying today is written also in my bill. Okay, so the delegation finds that the Honorable Moses Taringo Ferren, esteemed public service, has benefited the entire Commonwealth, most especially the residents and the community of San Vicente Village. The Honorable Moses Taringo Ferren was elected Village Commissioner of San Vicente for 5 consecutive years beginning in 1965. For the next 15 years, the Honorable Moses Taringo Ferren became principal at San Vicente Elementary School, where he developed a reputation for his integrity, strength of character, and resilience and dedication of educating the children and help San Vicente Elementary School to become a stronger educational system. The Honorable Moses Taringo Ferren was elected to represent the people of San Vicente and the entire Precinct 1 constituents in the House of Representatives in 1988. During his 30 plus years of public service, the Honorable Moses Ferren's devotion and dedication to serve the people and the community of San Vicente Village has never wavered and has continued to be present today. Therefore, the delegation finds it fitting and appropriate to rename San Vicente Elementary School to Moses Taringo Ferren Elementary School in honor of his devotion, dedication, and commitment to the people and the community of San Vicente Village. Now, my personal thoughts. I feel by renaming San Vicente Elementary School to Moses Taringo Ferren, we are also honoring the team he led. Some of them can even be seen today still teaching. And many more who have either retired or passed on. We'll not only be honoring Mr. Ferren and his contribution to the school, but all those who have collaborated in the development and advancements of the students and staff. So, I'm asking the people of San Vicente and everybody in Precinct 1 if they could join me by making this possible. As I said earlier on, legislation was introduced since the 6th, 18 and 19, and these were elected leaders, elected officials by the majority voted these guys. They trusted them. And I feel like because they hold up important position, they felt strongly that Moses Taringo Ferren deserved to be honored. And I feel the same way. May I proceed with the...
Please proceed.
Okay. Now, to address House Bill 22-60. This is in regards to naming the San Vicente Youth Center to Prudencio Cabrera. Mr. Cabrera, who was one of the earliest elected village commissioners of San Vicente, contributed his best efforts in advancing our precinct. I was raised and surrounded by many individuals, my senior, which they have guided and inspired me to be a good student, a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. The person I am today is because of individuals like Moses Ferren and Prudencio Cabrera, who have made the sacrifices and tough decisions that put us in the position we are today. These individuals deserve to be memorialized by etching their names in history so we may all be reminded to do great things for our people. I also went to school at the Head Start, Prudencio Cabrera Head Start, that was located in San Vicente Park today. And I felt it was right that when they demolished that building to build the parking lot that our residents and the community all over the island are utilizing today, that we should not forget who Prudencio Cabrera is. I personally don't know him. I know the family, not as well as you guys. But the Cabrera family, they played a very important role with the advancements of Precinct 1 today. So with that, I'd like to thank you for giving me the time to speak, and I'm open to any discussion with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Ada. I'd like to ask you to please stick around to the end of the public hearing so that if the public has any questions, you are here to answer it.
It's only one exit, right?
I want to note that there are people who were invited to testify or provide comments during tonight's public hearing. Some of them include Representative Roy Ada, Representative Vicente Camacho, Representative Ed Probst, Dr. Alfred Ada, Mr. Robert Guerrero, Dr. Esther Muña, Ms. Laurie Ogumaro, who is the chairwoman of the Board of Trustees of CHCC, Mayor Apatang, Ms. Castro, the chairwoman of the Municipal Council, Mr. Ali Ogo, the Special Assistant for Youth Affairs, and of course the community at large. Although some may not be present this evening, we did receive comments from them, and I see Dr. Ada here. Would you like to come up and make public comments, or would you just be satisfied with the submission of your comments? Dispensa, we're having technical difficulties.
Brand new battery.
Because we're having difficulties with one of the microphones, I'd like to ask Dr. Ada if you would like to use one of our microphones up here. Thank you.
Good evening, Representative Lusama, Representative Camacho, Congresswoman, Representative Roy, and Representative Probst, and Intermenti Torui Toto Tuturam. So, we were able to get comments from San Vicente faculty, staff, students, and parents. And they forwarded their comments to my office. And in reading all of the comments, most of them were about unanimously expressing their comments as basically not to change the name. However, there was one that came up which I really think is the greatest idea, was to keep SVS and add the Moses Tairinku Feheran. So we would say, we will rename the school as SVS Moses Tairinku Feheran Elementary School. So I thought that would be a win-win situation. I mean, win-win plead for both parties. My position is right there with that comment. Yes, we can. Is it okay if I speak in vernacular? Malika? No.
It's an acceptable language, yes, you may.
O sinaano sa constitutional right?
Yes, as your sister, Miss Keiko Rosario, noted.
Oh.
Thank you.
As a translator, no. Paragone, ani pagumozong este na asunto, gitutun ko, wow, okay, hanggang matulay ka, bola siyempre no, sti tinilay ka no, makput para todos hit, patatulay ka, pero esta mampausunit patasangan sa Vicente School. Pues patafaisin, publiko pro matulay ka, no tamano masangan niya, eskwela para Moses Tairinku Feheran. Nasukono leko maulik sa lalalaha si Mr. Feheran sa kiban mapusiya man ma-dedicate siya no office siya buildings and después diyan man esta man honok sa bonito este para tafanuyi mientras lalala na honro para Guiza, para todo sa ibidanya, para komunidad. So, no, kaya gisukin mo na posisyon ni Kipa SVS, lo add olum si Mr. Feheran, no, Zazaubi, Tugigi, Finutsamor, siyempre, Eskwela ng San Vicente, Eskwela San Vicente, Moses Tairinku Feheran Elementaryo. Siyempre tayo naman tugay niya, i-sign. So, and that's all I can say. So, thank you.
Sizo sumasi, Dr. Ada, pagod na tempo, zona be baba para i-publiko po Honolulu zangingwan no malago po famatinas no comments put estisian I bill ni man mapega gi agenda para po na poing. The floor is now open for any individual in the public who would like to step up and make public comments with regard to the bills that are before this committee. Thank you. I would like to ask you to please state your name for the record. This meeting is a public meeting and it is an official meeting. It is being recorded. Please state your name for the record. Senor.
My name is Lorenzo L.G. Cabrera, and presently a resident of Airport Road, here beside that. Was a long-time resident of San Vicente Village until 1963, when I married a girl from Chalancanoa and I had to move in with her. She was the youngest in the family. She was living with her mother. So I moved in. Anyway, one of the reasons why I chose to come up and speak to the committee, Madam Chair and members of the committee, is because, you know, San Vicente has a personal attachment to the Cabrera family. And I remind everybody that we are on Cabrera's land, Cabrera State, Republic. And I would like to share with you, the committee, the day I came to visit my parents. And this has to do with the San Vicente land. When I came to visit my parents on a Sunday morning, my father went into the bedroom, picked up an envelope and came out and said, "I want you to read this." When I opened the envelope, it was a letter from District Administrator Francisco Ada. And the letter was actually a threatening letter. You give us the San Vicente land, or we'll take it under eminent domain. That was the gist of that letter. My father asked me, how do I respond, or what does it say? Then I explained to him. I explained to him that this letter is informing you that the government needs 3 hectares of your land in San Vicente for the purpose of putting up a school. Then I asked my father, what happened to the present land where the school is? And he told me that they already gave it to Senator Borja. That was where the school used to be. That's where I went to school. At any rate, I told my father that if you do not agree, then the government will begin the process of exercising its right to take the land, even though you refuse to give it to the government. Then I told him that his remedy is for the family to hire an appraiser and have the appraiser appraise the value of this land and use that appraised value against the government offer to purchase the land. The government offered to purchase the land, and they insisted in that particular letter that the land, that the amount of money that the government is proposing is the fair value of the property. And I asked my father, do you think that the government proposal, the value that the government is willing to pay for the land is fair? Then he told me, I think the land is worth maybe 10 times more than what the government is offering. Then I explained to him the process of how do we go about getting the appraiser and having the appraiser appraise the property, and then we handle or negotiate back and forth. And if nobody agrees or we don't agree, then we might have to end up in court. Then my father asked me, can the government do this? I said, yes, the government has the right to do what the district administrator was proposing to do. You know the pavilion outside? Well, my father was a commissioner, and he was in his 60s already. He built that. And he was not employed, not getting any remuneration to do what he was doing. But he was doing it for the students and the people of San Vicente. So, Madam Chair and members of the committee, if you wish, I have, with all due respect to Ms. Esther and who I grew up with, and I know personally, with all due respect, I wish for the committee to consider honoring the memory of my father by naming the San Vicente School Renzo M. Cabrera Elementary School, the same as the Gregorio D. Camacho Elementary School in San Roque. I don't know how that was done, but it was, Tungoro was never a school teacher, but the school was named after him. Maybe because he was the commissioner for San Roque. So I think I speak on behalf of all my relatives who are present here tonight, and in requesting that the committee consider honoring the memory of my father and name the school in his honor. With that, I should like to move on to Resolution 22-16. Congressman Nata, I thank you for your effort and consideration in honoring the memory of my father. But how about this idea? Joaquin Sablan Turela was the pioneer of San Vicente Village. He was the first one. If you people, though I don't think any of you is old enough to remember, right after the war, and the military installations were being torn down and the military was leaving the island, there was hardly any jobs on the island. Very few people had jobs. And because most everybody were living in Chalantanoa, they left their homes in Chalantanoa and built farmhouses on their respective property, those who had properties. And they lived at the farm because most of them do not have jobs to go to. So they have to farm to feed themselves. For San Vicente, I think I can say that this part of the island parts of the island. Because from Lampidi Market, down in Dandan, close to Dandan, all the way up to Laula, and up to the Patagobio, students from families who are residing in these areas, like maybe say in the jungle, they come to San Vicente School. In any event, the construction of the school, I think it was done in 1949 or 50, or very early 50. But it was Joaquin Sablan Tudela, under his effort. He was the one who started it. He was the one also who implored upon the bishop to build a church here in San Vicente. So he was the true pioneer of the village of actually Tuturan. It was not San Vicente then. Tuturan village. It's not easy to do the canvassing, surveying, finding how many people are residing in this general area, and then taking that information and going to the Department of Education and implore on the people who are administering the education department to open up a school in San Vicente. So the school, finally under the effort of Joaquin Tudela, San Vicente School was opened in 1951. It was a one-room concrete school where grades 1 to 6 were bunched in one room, and the teacher moved around and tried to take care of all the 6th grades that are in the classroom. I was a 4th grader then. The same is true with the need of the people of Tuturan, or the resident of Tuturan, the religious need of the resident. We wanted to have a church, and it was Joaquin Tudela who approached the bishop from Guam and asked him to allow for the construction of a chapel. A chapel, because a regular church is out of the question at that time. So at least a chapel where people can come and pray the rosary and have a mass said in that chapel every once in a while, whenever a priest was available. All these efforts were done because Joaquin Tudela is interested, energetic, though he was in his 60s already, to see to it that people have places where they can send their kids to go to school and to go to pray in a chapel that is sanctioned by the church. I think that place is very nice now. I mean, the improvement that was done is very conducive, I suppose, to the need of San Vicente. And if naming the commissioners or honoring the commissioners who serve the people of San Vicente is important to the committee or the legislature, then I strongly suggest that you call that place Commissioners Plaza, rather than pinpoint a name or mention a single name, Joaquin Tudela, Prudencio Cabrera, or Jose Esfera, for that matter, because all three of them were commissioners. Just call the place Commissioners Plaza. If it's a recreational park, let's call it recreational park. Commissioners recreational park. Thank you. Thank you. If there are any questions that you want to answer, thank you.
Danklunas, Jesus Masi, Uncle Larry. Jesus Masi ni information yung nayang pag napengi po di historianisti na lugar ni man gayit po ko sama keke no tulay ka I nonya. If there are any questions, we will hold it till the end of the public hearing. I would now like to ask if there is anybody else who would like to make public comments on any of the bills that are before this committee. Feel free to step up. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, Councilwoman and the board. I came here to support the naming of Sun City School to Moses T. Farron Elementary School. But now I kind of have reservations because of what I just heard Mr. Cabrera say, things that he's mentioned. And maybe I should have done my due diligence to do some research before something like this would have been brought up to the public. And I'm sorry that your family, Mr. Cabrera, had to go through hardships like that, and for the government to do what it did to your family. And I wish that it never happened, but it is what it is. But this is one thing I can say about Mr. Farron. Growing up in San City Elementary School, it was not just the principal. Okay, it was one of the what we would call the village fathers. You better believe that if you're doing something wrong and Mr. Farron catches you, he is real quick to discipline. And I'm one of those fortunate few, that, got to see his disciplinary side. But it made me a better person. And that's the reason why I was here, is to let people know that he wasn't just a principal to me. He was also like a father to me. Somebody that cared. And yes, if I get a whooping, from him, it's because I deserved it. And if he brings me, if he drives me in the San Vicente pickup truck, green pickup truck, that broke some records. I don't know if you guys remember any of that. But he did bring joy to the school. He made a positive impact to the school and to the community. And I wish that we could, name the school after him. I really do. But in light of what Mr. Cabrera said, I'm in a reservation right now. And maybe, the community as a whole can speak about something like that. Because I really do feel for your family, sir. I really do. But, I came here to talk about Mr. Farron and why, I believe that he should be. And like I said, it's not just a principal. It was a father. And he's somebody that I could turn to and, talk about something and whatnot. Even to this day. Granted that Mr. Farron is ill, but he still tries to find that time whenever I show up at his residence or anywhere to, stop me and talk to me, And for the life of me, I don't know why he would, get somebody like me, the time of day, but he really does. And he tries. And with that, I'm always going to respect him. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aldon. The floor is still open. Does anybody else want to make comments? No? Recognize the gentleman. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, Chairwoman and members of the JGO Committee. My name is Frankie Lipsco. I am a 46-year-old resident of Tuturam. Lived here all my life, the greatest village on Saipan. I also went to this school for 7 years of my life, also the best school on Saipan. I am a product of public school. My formative years were spent here on this very campus, on this very building where there was a road coming in, there was swing sets, and just wonderful memories of the buses coming and picking up and dropping off students. I also, like Mr. O'Don, I claim ignorance of a lot of the history behind a lot of the property transactions prior to it becoming a elementary school when I was going to school way back in the early 80s. But I am here to speak of the very fond memories that I have with Mr. Ferran as the head of our school. I remember that in those days, we had such an amazing amount of pride just because Mr. Ferran was I believe, one of the first principals to bring in computers. And I know for the young audience here, we had Apple IIe's, we had a little room in the middle of the campus, and I just remember having so much pride here at the school because we were the first ones, and I didn't even know what to do with a computer. We were drawing shapes, and just to see things that you typed on a screen and wasn't a typewriter was an amazing thing. Mr. Ferran was also very, he stressed the importance of having a beautiful campus. So was responsible for, the chain, not the chain link fence, but the actual chain for the campus. And I remember back then we had a beautification contest among all the schools. And we always, I thought back then, my memory serves me right, we won a number of years of having the most beautiful campus. And that brought a sense of pride, but also a sense of responsibility to aesthetics, right? And what that means to having a learning environment where the area that you're surrounding also contributes to your learning. So he was very adamant about making certain that the campus was always well kept, maintained, so that the students were full of pride. Again, I don't mean to take away from a very rich history from the Cabrera family and from other families who may lay claim to the property. But I do want to say that Mr. Ferran did play a very pivotal, fundamental, and important role in the growth and the success of the school. And I'm here to just state that for the record and support his recognition in connection with San Vicente Elementary School. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Elliptical. The floor is still open for public comments. Is there anybody else who wants to? If not, we will move along with the agenda. But I understand Representative Roy Ada wants to make additional comments, so I will recognize him at this time before we move on to the announcement portion of our public hearing. Representative Ada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to do impromptu. I'm better off like speaking with my own personal thoughts and not scripted. Mr. Cabrera, it's finally good to put a face to the name that I keep hearing, who was, if I'm not mistaken, the eldest of the Cabrera? You are?
What?
The eldest in the Cabrera, the siblings of the late Prudential Cabrera? I mean, kids, I'm sorry, the youngest son. Okay, never mind, moving forward. I do sympathize with what happened, or your story of what transpired during those times, and to echo what Mr. Elliptico said, we were ignorant to that. We didn't know those things were taking place. We can only speak of our experience, and the reason why I'm driven to do this is because of my experience, is to pay homage to the leaders who were here, who built, our precinct to get it to where it is today. I would really I like to think that the late Commissioner Prudencio Cabrera sacrificed the land for the school, for the whole. And by me introducing legislation to rename the San Vicente Elementary School to Moses Farron is not in any way not to take away what had happened to you, but not to lay blame or punish Mr. Farron for what transpired between the administration at the time and your family. I am very sorry that happened. I am only introducing legislation to recognize the work and the advancement of what the Honorable Moses Tainago Farron contributed to the development and of the school. Now, again, I have mentioned earlier that the House Bill 22-60, that is legislation to name the current youth center to Prudencio Cabrera. I know that it may not measure up to what he has contributed, and I'm starting to hear a lot of information about the Cabrera family. Cabrera family is a significant part of the whole educational system. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Humboldt Junior High School on Cabrera property?
Yes.
Right. Now, the reason why I would like for us as a community to support the legislation to name the youth center as Prudencio Cabrera is to keep his name alive. We can move forward and go bigger with other than the youth center. The park is currently established and named as Commissioner Joaquin S. Tudela Parks. The current sign that is now there currently, the exit sign where you see the sign that says San Vicente Park, I just got off the phone before coming here talking to the contractor that was given that project to replace the San Vicente wordings and put on Commissioner Joaquin S. Tudela Park, rightfully so. And I've been working with the Tudela family and informing them as much as I could. Unfortunately, there was a lot of things that just happened. We could go down the list. But I never stopped doing or following up on these initiatives that I took. Because I was raised to always finish what I started and be true to my word. I was raised by everybody in here, some way, shape, or form. It was the community's teaching and raising of your kids who are my elders who taught me to watch out for everybody and to keep the spirit alive by helping each other and coming together as a community. I wish my intentions of introducing this legislation is really something that has been with me since growing up here in San Vicente. I remember the basketball court when it was just a jungle, you know, and my mom would always tell me not to go down there because that's where all the mischief and, you know, rough kids were at, you know, drug use and everything like that. But I frequented the place, my brother did, a lot of other families, Cabrera's, the Torres, everybody I could name, the Rages, Camacho, and although they were rough, they were very proud of their village. They always taught me to take care of the village, to make sure that when you're in a position to help out and do more, to do just that. And that was a lesson taught by the late Commissioner Prudencio Cabrera, the Honorable Moses Tidingo Ferran, the first Commissioner Joaquin S. Tudela, and many more. I am truly sorry with whatever happened in the past, but I feel like we should remember the individual's good deeds and contributions, sacrifice.
Representative
Thank you.
Vela, you have 1 minute.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I will take one last public comment if you would like to, Mr. Cabrera.
Yeah, just to, I think the legislature taking action honoring individuals from the community and recognizing the special work of any person or special project is commendable. And I wish that you continue to do that. But the caution that I would like to repeat, and I say repeat because this came up, the same thing came up during the effort that was exerted by the late Congressman Tomas Pangilinan to change upward and naming the Janet Delorio Junior High School, something like that. I spoke in that particular hearing because, you know, I was close to it. I said the legislature, it behooves the legislature and perhaps our government to come up with a guideline as to how we go about naming places and whatever. I even told the congressman that I don't know Janet Delorio very well, but I do know a lot of educators that have been with the education for over 40 years. And perhaps maybe they are entitled to have their name recognized and be placed in the entrance of some of the schools. But you know, the danger is, what if somebody else get elected and favors a particular person, maybe in the education department or whatever, and that particular person, because he is an influential member of the legislature, introduce another bill and say, okay, we want to change Moises Tidingo Ferran School into, I don't know, Roy Congressman Roy Alda. I think that can happen. You know, if no guidelines is set and followed, that can happen. Every time a congressman who wants to champion a particular cause or particular support a particular person, maybe somebody who's going to run for governor or whatever, you know, let's name this place, you know, in honor of our candidate and push forward, because, you know, we have the support, we can get the votes and we can get it passed. I think there's a danger in that becoming a reality. So maybe some sort of guideline. Maybe it's a job for the legislative council to, you know, come with something and maybe put that into a law, a bill, and vote it into a law. Thank you. That's it.
Dr. Narcissus Masi, Mr. Cabrera. At this time, we will move on to the next item of the agenda, which is announcements. Are there any announcements from the members? The only announcement I want to make is that the JGO committee will be meeting tomorrow with respect to the investigation that we are conducting. And we will announce that tomorrow on social media and the legislature's website. We have not confirmed a time yet because the Chamber of the House of Representatives is quite busy. We can't seem to get the schedule in. But other than that, speaking to what Mr. Larry Cabrera has mentioned, with respect to bills and how it comes about, so the authors, anybody in the any member of the House of Representatives or the Senate can introduce bills, and then it gets referred to a committee. And as such, you have seen 4 bills that were introduced to the Committee of the Whole, meaning the whole House of Representatives with all 20 members. And then it gets referred to a committee. Usually the committee has the responsibility to conduct public hearings like this, or do further research, or we can also send it back to the author to do their due diligence based on this public hearing and based on comments that we solicit from departments that are affected by these bills. So that's how these public hearings and committees conduct their responsibilities over the House of Representatives. And I just wanted to enlighten everyone in the community how bills get introduced and passed in the legislature. But having completed our public hearing this evening, I now will move on to the next item of the agenda, which is the adjournment. And can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting? A motion has been made and has been seconded to conclude the meeting. It is now 7:09. Are there any discussions on the motion? Ready? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. This meeting has concluded at 7:09 p.m. I thank you very much.